Have you ever felt like you're just watching your finances happen?
Like you're in the audience and not on stage.
Yeah, the markets and jobs and just like life, they all feel like they're calling the shots. But imagine if we could flip that. What if we could grab the steering wheel and actually design our financial future?
That's exactly what we're diving into today. And, you brought the abundance blueprint to the table.
Right.
And this book is all about making that shift, going from reactive to proactive with your money, using a really interesting mix of mindset work and actual, practical techniques.
Totally. And the thing that really jumped out at me about this book is how it's structured. It's like chapter by chapter, each one builds on the last, kind of laying bricks.
Yeah.
So that's how we're going to approach it in this deep dive. We'll go through each chapter, pull out the big ideas, and give everyone a clear picture of how this whole blueprint for abundance works.
Think of us as your guides through this blueprint. We'll be highlighting the key principles in each chapter so you can understand how they all fit together to create a solid foundation for, real financial well-being.
Not just theory, but actual steps.
Exactly.
All right, let's jump right in. Chapter 1, Understanding the Foundation, Mindset and Beliefs.
Okay.
The image that popped into my head was building a house. I mean, you wouldn't put the roof on before you had a solid foundation, right?
That's a perfect way to think about it, yeah. This chapter really stresses that our thoughts and beliefs about money are that foundation.
The bedrock.
Yeah. It even talks about manifesting money, which can sound kind of out there, but the book keeps it really grounded.
Right. It's not about wishing for a pile of cash to appear.
Oh, magic wand.
Exactly. It's more like planting a seed. You start with a desire, nurture it with your thoughts and feelings, and then, super important, you take action to help it grow.
Absolutely. And they do a good job of addressing those misconceptions right up front. It's not just about wishful thinking, even though obviously, luck or external factors can play a part.
Right.
But a lot of it comes from having a good, mindset, a constructive way of thinking about money.
And I think it's great that they address the whole money is the root of all evil thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because it reframes money as a tool.
Right.
It's neutral. It's all about how you use it. And they also debunk the idea that just thinking positive thoughts is going to magically make you rich.
Yeah, they make it clear that a positive outlook is a great start, but you need to pair it with action.
Action, right.
What they call inspired action,
Yeah,
actually.
which we'll talk about more later.
Later, yeah. But this chapter is really about understanding the power of our beliefs. They actually call them the software running in our minds.
I love that. Software of the mind. And then they get into limiting beliefs, like those negative assumptions we sometimes pick up along the way, like money is always scarce or I'm just bad with money.
Yeah.
I mean, I've definitely caught myself thinking stuff like that sometimes.
Oh, we all do.
It's easy to fall into those traps.
And what the book points out is that these beliefs can become real obstacles. They can prevent us from even seeing or going after opportunities for abundance.
Because we're so focused on the lack.
Yeah. And what's even more interesting is the idea of subconscious programming, how these beliefs are often operating without us even realizing it.
Like on autopilot.
Exactly. But they're still affecting our behavior and the choices we make about money.
Right. So we might not even be aware of why we're making certain decisions.
Right. And they share a great story about this woman, Sarah, who started saying this affirmation, I am a money magnet, over and over.
I am a money magnet.
Yeah, and he actually started making more money. It's a good example of how changing those deep-seated beliefs can create real change.
Tangible change. So
Yeah.
It's not just woo-woo stuff.
No, not at all. And they also break down those negative scripts we often hear, like money doesn't grow on trees,
Oh, yeah.
which kind of makes us think that money is hard to earn.
A struggle.
Yeah. Or we can't afford that, which reinforces this idea that we don't have enough. And those phrases, they get embedded in our minds.
So how do we reprogram those beliefs?
Well, the good news is that Chapter 1 doesn't just point out the problem. They give us some tools to fix it. Things like affirmations, which are basically positive statements you repeat to yourself.
Okay, like I am worthy of abundance.
Exactly. It sounds simple, but saying those phrases out loud with conviction can have a big impact, especially if you do it consistently.
And what about visualization?
Oh, that's another big one. It's all about creating clear mental pictures of your financial goals and really feeling the positive emotions that come with achieving them.
Like really immersing yourself in that future reality.
Exactly, because it's not just about seeing it, it's about feeling it, feeling the joy, the gratitude, the satisfaction.
That's so powerful. And then there's the idea of reframing negative thoughts.
Oh, that's a good one. So instead of saying I'm in debt, You shift it to something more empowering, like, I'm on the path to financial freedom.
Right, changing the language you use.
Yeah, it changes the whole energy around it. You're not stuck in the problem anymore. You're focused on the solution. And the chapter also talks a lot about the importance of gratitude,
Gratitude, yeah.
like really appreciating what you have instead of always focusing on what you lack.
I think that's so important. It's easy to get caught up in what we don't have.
It is, but shifting that focus to what we do have can be a huge mindset shift.
It's like you're telling the universe, hey, I'm open to receiving more.
Exactly. And they even give you some exercises to help with this, like the belief audit, where you write down all your beliefs about money and then figure out which ones are holding you back.
And then you can start to reprogram them.
Exactly. They also talk about gratitude journaling.
Oh, I've heard of that. Just writing down a few things you're grateful for each day, especially things related to money.
It's a great way to cultivate that feeling of abundance. And there are tons of resources out there to help with all of this, like lists of positive affirmations and guided meditations.
So basically, chapter 1 is all about laying that foundation, clearing out those limiting beliefs, and getting our minds ready for abundance.
Exactly. It's like prepping the soil before you plant the seeds. And that leads perfectly into chapter 2, setting clear intentions and defining your financial vision.
Okay, so if chapter 1 was the foundation, chapter 2 feels like we're setting our financial GPS.
Yeah, like planning a road trip.
You got to know where you're going before you start driving.
Exactly. And the book really stresses the importance of moving beyond vague desires, like, I just want more money, to setting specific, measurable goals.
Like, I want to pay off this credit card debt by this date.
Or, I want to buy a house in this neighborhood within 2 years. The more specific you are, the more powerful your intention becomes.
And this is where the idea of creating a financial vision comes in. It's not just about goals. It's about painting a picture of your ideal financial future.
Yeah, and they encourage you to make it really vivid, like a movie in your mind. What will your life look like when you achieve these goals? What will you be doing? How will you feel?
Like really immerse yourself in those details.
Exactly. And they even suggest creating a money vision board.
Oh yeah, I've seen those, like a collage of images and words that represent your goal.
Right, and they suggest putting it somewhere you'll see it every day as a constant reminder of what you're working towards.
That's a great idea. And then the chapter talks about setting smart financial goals.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. It's about breaking down those big goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
Right, because a huge goal can feel overwhelming.
It can, but when you break it down into smaller pieces, it feels less daunting. And you can celebrate those small wins along the way, which keeps you motivated.
So you might have a big goal of buying a house, but then you break it down into saving a certain amount each month, researching neighborhoods, getting pre-approved for a mortgage, stuff like that.
Exactly, and they emphasize that intention is the driving force behind manifestation. It's that clear, focused desire that fuels your actions.
So it's not just about passively wishing for things to happen.
No, it's about actively setting your intention and then taking aligned action. And they have some great exercises to help with this, like the financial visioning exercise, where you take some quiet time to really envision your ideal financial future.
So close your eyes, imagine it all in detail, and then write it down.
Exactly. And they also have a goal-setting worksheet to help you define your goals, make sure they're smart, break them down into steps, and set deadlines.
Really practical stuff.
And there are lots of tools available to help you with all of this, like online vision board templates and financial planning apps.
So the big takeaway from chapter 2 is that clear intentions and a strong financial vision are like your compass, guiding you towards abundance.
Absolutely. You need to know where you're going before you can get there.
All right, we've built our foundation with the right mindset and set our course with a clear vision. Now, chapter 3 takes us into more energetic territory.
Oh, yeah.
Tuning your energy, the vibration of abundance. This is where it gets interesting.
It does. So this chapter introduces the idea that everything, including our thoughts and emotions, has a vibration.
Like an energetic frequency.
Exactly. And they explain that positive emotions like joy, gratitude, and love have a high vibration.
And negative emotions like fear, anger, and resentment have a lower vibration.
Right. And this is where the law of attraction comes in, the idea that like attracts like.
Okay, so to attract abundance, we need to raise our vibration.
Exactly. And our thoughts and emotions are what determine our vibration. If you're constantly thinking negative thoughts about money, you're going to feel stressed and anxious.
Which lowers your vibration.
Right. But if you focus on positive thoughts and cultivate feelings of gratitude and joy, your vibration goes up.
So how do we actually do that? How do we raise our vibration?
Well, they talk a lot about consciously cultivating positive emotions, like making time for things that bring you joy, practicing gratitude regularly, and nurturing loving relationships.
Okay, so it's about being intentional about the energy we surround ourselves with.
Exactly. And they emphasize the importance of self-care, Things like exercise, healthy eating, enough sleep, and mindfulness or meditation.
All those things that help us feel good.
Right, because when we take care of ourselves, our energy naturally rises. And they give some interesting examples of how this works in real life.
Oh, like what?
Well, you know how some people just seem to attract good luck?
Yeah, like everything seems to go their way.
A lot of times, those people have a naturally positive and optimistic outlook. They're vibrating at a higher frequency.
So they're attracting more good things into their lives.
Exactly. And conversely, people who are constantly worried about money or focusing on luck, they tend to attract more of that.
Because their energy is focused on scarcity.
Right. So they talk about the importance of staying in alignment with your desires.
Meaning your thoughts, feelings, and actions should all be aligned with what you want to manifest.
Exactly. So it's not enough to just visualize your goals. You also need to feel the emotions of having already achieved them and even start acting as if you already have them.
Like walk the walk, talk the talk.
Yeah. And they give you a little tool called the vibrational check-in. It's just about pausing throughout the day and noticing how you're feeling.
So if you're feeling stressed or negative, you can consciously shift your focus to something more positive.
Exactly. And they also suggest creating a joy list.
A list of things that make you happy.
Yeah, simple thing like listening to your favorite music, spending time in nature, being creative, whatever brings you joy, and then make sure you're doing those things regularly.
Makes sense.
And they talk about gratitude again, which we talked about in chapter 1.
So important.
It's a powerful way to raise your vibration. And of course, there are tons of resources out there to help you with all of this, like lists of activities that raise your vibration, mindfulness apps, guided meditations, stuff like that.
So basically, chapter 3 is all about aligning our energy with our desires, becoming a magnet for abundance.
Exactly. It's like setting the right frequency to attract the things you want.
Awesome. All right, we've got the right mindset, a clear vision, but we're raising our vibration. Now, chapter 4 is all about taking the leap, inspired action for financial growth.
Okay, so this chapter is about putting everything we've learned into action.
Right. Because we can't just sit around and wait for abundance to fall into our laps.
No, we have to take action, but they make a really important distinction between forced action and inspired action.
What's the difference?
So forced action is when you feel like you have to do something even if you don't really want to. It's driven by fear, obligation, or pressure.
Like when you force yourself to go to a networking event, even though you'd rather stay home.
Exactly, but inspired action feels different. It's fueled by excitement, passion, and a sense of alignment with your goals.
So it's more about following your intuition, your gut feeling.
Right, and they talk about how to develop that intuition, how to pay attention to those subtle nudges and synchronicities.
Like when you randomly meet someone who can help you with your business.
Exactly, and I talk about the importance of being open to new opportunities and actively networking.
So it's not just about sitting around meditating, it's about putting yourself out there.
Right, and they address the common challenges of procrastination and fear of failure.
Which everyone struggles with, right?
Oh, yeah, and they give some great tips for overcoming those obstacles, like breaking down big tasks into smaller steps, focusing on progress over perfection, and reframing failure as a learning opportunity.
Those are all really helpful. And they give some great examples of inspired action in action.
Like what?
Well, they tell the story of John, who had this strong feeling that he should learn new skills and start networking more, and it eventually led him to start his own successful freelance business.
That's awesome.
And then there's Maria, who felt inspired to get out of debt, so she created a budget and started exploring new income-generating opportunities.
Both great examples.
So how do we know if an action is inspired or forced?
Well, they say that inspired action feels exciting, it feels aligned with your goals, and it feels like it's flowing effortlessly.
Like you're in the zone.
Exactly. But they also emphasize the importance of creating a plan of action.
So it's not just about blindly following your intuition. You also need to have a strategy.
Right. Breaking down your goals into smaller steps, prioritizing and setting deadlines.
And tracking your progress, of course.
And celebrating those wins along the way. They also talk about being flexible and adjusting your plan as needed, because things don't always go as planned.
Right. And they have some great exercises like inspired action planning, where you brainstorm actions that are aligned with your goals.
And tracking your progress, where you actually keep track of your accomplishments. And they also mention tools like action planning templates, time management apps, and the importance of having accountability partners.
So chapter 4 is all about taking action, but making sure it's inspired action that's aligned with our goals and vision.
Exactly. And it's about putting all the pieces together, the mindsets, the vision, the energy, and now the action.
All right, we're really building momentum here. We've got the mindset, the vision, the energy, and we're taking action. Now, chapter 5 shifts the focus to living the abundant life. sustaining your financial success.
Okay, so this chapter is about making abundance a lasting part of our lives.
Right, because manifesting isn't just a one-time thing, it's an ongoing journey.
Exactly. And they talk about the importance of staying consistent with those daily practices like affirmations, visualization, and gratitude.
Those are like our daily vitamins for abundance.
Right. And they also talk about regularly revisiting and reinforcing your financial goals and vision.
Making sure we're still on track.
Yeah, and they stress the importance of integrating these principles into your daily life, like making them a habit, not just something you do once in a while.
Right. Abundance should be a way of life, not just a goal.
Exactly. And they also address the fact that challenges and setbacks are inevitable.
Life happens.
It does, and they talk about staying positive during those times, reframing challenges as learning opportunities, and practicing self-compassion.
So it's about bouncing back from those setbacks and keeping moving forward.
Right, and they share some great stories of resilience.
Oh, like what?
Well, they talk about Sarah, who lost her job but used it as an opportunity to start her own successful business.
Wow, turning a setback into a success.
And then there's John, who had to adapt his financial strategy when he encountered unexpected obstacles.
So it's about being adaptable and not giving up.
Exactly. And they also talk about the importance of generosity and giving back.
Giving back.
Yeah, like sharing your abundance with others, whether it's through donations, volunteering, or just being kind and supportive.
So it's about understanding that abundance is a flow. It's not just about accumulating wealth.
Right. And they emphasize that giving doesn't always have to be monetary. It can be giving your time, your skills, your energy.
So it's about being a contributor to the world.
Exactly. And they also talk about the importance of continuing to learn and grow.
So it's about investing in yourself, learning new skills, and staying informed about financial matters.
Right. And they mention tools like books, podcasts, courses, workshops, things like that.
It's about being a lifelong learner.
And they talk about the abundance audit.
What's that?
It's just taking some time to reflect on your progress, review your goals, and celebrate your successes.
Like a regular check-in with yourself.
Yeah. And they also talk about creating a long-term financial plan, which includes saving, investing, and building multiple streams of income.
So it's about planning for the future, but also enjoying the present.
Exactly. So Chapter 5 is really about integrating abundance into every aspect of your life, making it a sustainable and fulfilling way of being.
Okay, we've explored the core principles of abundance. Now, Chapter 6 gets really practical with 5 impactful techniques to practice manifestation for money.
So these are specific techniques we can use to actually manifest money.
Give us the goods.
All right. The first one is the future self visualization.
So we've talked about visualization before, but this is about really embodying your future abundant self.
Exactly. They suggest really immersing yourself in that identity. How does your future self walk, talk, dress? Where do they live? What are they doing?
It's about feeling the energy of that future version of yourself.
Right. And really feeling the emotions, the confidence, the joy, the gratitude. And they suggest doing this regularly, especially before making financial decisions.
So it's like aligning yourself with the energy of abundance.
Exactly. The second technique is the money conversation technique.
This one sounds interesting.
It is. It's about having an actual conversation with money.
Like talking to it.
Yeah, but not out loud. It's more of a mental conversation. The idea is to approach money as a friendly, conscious energy.
And what do you talk about?
Well, you can ask it questions like, what do you want me to know? How can I attract more of you? Things like that.
And then listen for the answers.
Right. And it's also important to express gratitude for the money you already have.
So it's about building a positive relationship with money.
Exactly. And they say you can also do this in writing, like in a journal.
Okay, that makes sense. The third technique is the affirmation and action combo.
So we've talked about affirmations, but this technique is about pairing those positive statements with inspired action.
So it's not enough to just say the affirmations, you have to actually do something.
Exactly. Like if your affirmation is money flows to me easily, then you might follow that up by researching business ideas or reaching out to potential clients.
So it's about backing up your words with action.
Right. It's about showing the universe that you're serious about manifesting abundance. The fourth technique is the gratitude and giving cycle.
Okay, this one's all about abundance flowing in and out.
Exactly. It's about practicing gratitude for the abundance you already have and then finding ways to give back to others.
So it's about being a part of that flow.
Right. And giving doesn't always have to be about money. It can be giving your time, your skills, your kindness, anything that feels good to give.
So it's about creating a cycle of abundance.
Exactly. And the fifth technique is the detached desire method.
This one sounds a bit counterintuitive.
It does, but it's about setting clear intentions, taking action, and then letting go of the outcome.
Like surrendering to the universe.
In a way, yeah. It's about trusting that the universe will deliver in its own time and in its own way.
So it's about not getting too attached to a specific outcome or timeline.
Exactly. It's about focusing on the process and trusting the journey.
Those are some really powerful techniques.
They are, and they all work together to create a powerful force for manifesting financial abundance. And then in Chapter 7, Step-by-Step Goal Achievement Practices, they show us how to apply these techniques to specific goals.
Okay, so this is where the rubber meets the road.
Exactly. They give us a step-by-step plan for achieving two specific goals. The first one is become a successful business owner earning $1 million in a year.
Wow, that's ambitious.
It is. So for the future self-visualization, they suggest really imagining yourself a year from now, running your successful business, making those $1 million decisions, feeling the confidence and the joy.
Really stepping into that identity.
Exactly. And for the money conversation technique, they suggest having a conversation with money, asking it how you can attract more clients, create more value, and grow your business.
So it's about tapping into your intuition and getting guidance from a higher source.
Right. And for the affirmation and action combo, they suggest using affirmations like, I am a successful business owner earning $1 million a year, or my business effortlessly attracts ideal clients.
And then following those up with inspired action.
Exactly, like networking, marketing, developing your skills, things like that. For the gratitude and giving cycle, they suggest practicing gratitude for your clients, your team, your skills, and the opportunities you have.
And finding ways to give back even before you hit that $1 million mark.
Right. It's about creating that abundance mindset from the beginning. And for the detached desire method, they suggest setting the goal, creating a plan, taking action, and then trusting that the universe will support you.
So it's about letting go of the need to control everything.
Exactly. And they also highlight some key considerations for this goal, like the importance of having a business plan, developing your skills, networking, and being consistent with your efforts.
So it's not just about manifesting, it's about doing the work.
Right. And the second goal they explore is achieve a higher position within the organization with an amazing increment.
Okay, so this one is about career advancement.
Exactly. And for the future self-visualization, they suggest imagining yourself in that higher position, leading your team, making those big decisions, and feeling the satisfaction of a job well done.
And for the career conversation technique, it's about having a conversation with your career, asking it what skills you need to develop, what opportunities you should pursue, and how you can best demonstrate your value. That's interesting. Like getting feedback from your career itself.
Right. And for the affirmation and action combo, they suggest using affirmations like, I am deserving of this promotion, or I am a valuable asset to this company.
And then taking aligned action, like updating your resume, networking, or talking to your manager about your career goals.
Exactly. And for the gratitude and giving cycle, they suggest practicing gratitude for your current position, your colleagues, and the opportunities you have to learn and grow.
And finding ways to give back, like mentoring others or going above and beyond in your current role.
Right. It's about showing up as the best version of yourself even before you get the promotion. And for the detached desire method, they suggest setting the goal, creating a plan, taking action, and then trusting that the right opportunity will come along.
So it's about being patient and persistent.
Exactly. And they also highlight some key considerations for career advancement, like consistently performing well in your current role, developing your skills, networking, communicating effectively with your manager, and documenting your accomplishments.
So it's about being strategic and intentional about your career growth.
Right. So Chapter 7 is really about putting all the pieces together and creating a clear roadmap for achieving your financial and career goals.
Wow, we've really covered a lot of ground today. This abundance blueprint is pretty incredible.
It is. It's a comprehensive and practical guide to creating lasting abundance.
The biggest takeaway for me is that abundance is not just about money. It's about a mindset, an energy, a way of being.
Absolutely. It's about aligning your thoughts, feelings, and actions with what you want to create in your life.
And it's about taking inspired action and trusting that the universe will support you.
And remember, you have the power to create the financial reality you desire. It all starts with believing in yourself and taking those first steps.
So, thinking about the power of your financial vision, what's one sensory detail you could add to it right now to make it even more real and exciting for yourself? Something you can connect with in this very moment.